I was feeling into maybe starting with a little bit of a grounding, just to arrive in this shared space together. So if you are willing to join me, I find that groundings can really help us transition into another state of presence, and ready our nervous system to open up to connection and to, yeah, possibilities that may not be, we may not be aware of. So yeah, if you'd like to join me, I'll invite you to close your eyes if that feels right, or to just soften your gaze. And to take a moment to just connect with the breath. To feel it coming and going like the tides. To feel the contact between your feet and the ground as a constant reminder that you are held. You are safe to be exactly who you are. And with each breath, we remember our belonging to the earth, our belonging to the web of life that sustains and nurtures us. And our belonging to a community of wonderful human and more than human beings who are paving the way for other possible worlds. To just allow yourself to soften in this moment. To open up your heart to the possibility of magic, the possibility of miracles. To give yourself permission to show yourself, your whole self. To invite your body, your rational brain, your creative mind, your voice, your heart, your deepest longings to also land in the shared space. Taking one last deep breath. And you may now open your eyes and land back in this Zoom land together. Thank you. And as I like to begin every session of the Great Weaving, welcome home, Weaver. And so I'd like to maybe share a little bit of context about the Great Weaving as a movement as a practice, as an art, and also to share some intentions about this particular session today and our time together. So I began seeing everything around and within me as an ecosystem a few years ago, seeing my community, my family, my belonging to different networks working towards eco-social transformation as ecosystems, and even to begin seeing my inner world as an ecology of different parts that mutually support each other. And this practice of really centering relationality, centering the quality of relationships in my life and in my work has also translated into the redefinition of education away from the paradigms of modernity and the teacher and student separation, seeing learning as a convivial, multi-dimensional, multi-directional process, a co-creative one that ultimately serves our co-becoming. And when I say our, not just as human beings, but as inhabitants of this earth, along with our more than human kin. And really learning ecosystems. So the first time I heard about this term was actually from someone who's present here, my dear friend and mentor, Alexander Laszlo, who wrote about evolutionary learning ecosystems. And it really helped me begin to see education, like the current schooling system, as being inherently flawed and as serving the interests of this dominant paradigm of, the elite of capitalism, and instead beginning to nurture these community-based, land-based learning ecosystems and connecting them with one another to enable, the free flowing of knowledge, of resources, of care across these different learning communities. And this is what my work is centered on. And the Great Weaving is a process, as I mentioned earlier, a practice and an art. I see the Great Weaving as a bridge between what environmental activist and beloved teacher Joanna Macy refers to as the Great Unraveling, the breakdown of our socio-ecological systems, and what she calls the Great Turning, which is the return to a life-affirming civilization. And so the Great Weaving is a bridge between these two worlds. And its main intention is to really give rise to the opportunity to remember our belonging to each other and to the earth, to also honor the pain and the grief that comes from being part of these systems of exploitation and inequalities and extraction, and to begin dreaming into other possible futures. We call this an act of radical imagination, an act of reclamation of other ways of being, other ways of knowing, that support the flourishing of all life on Earth. And we have had many sessions as part of this Great Weaving, each one of them very different from the others. And I like to refer to this process as a very emergent and adaptive one. I did not come today with any notes or any agenda. The goal really is just for us to connect, to follow a flow or an arc, which is the arc of the spiral, as I like to refer to it. And I'll show you what that looks like. So this is the spiral of the Great Weaving, inspired by Joanna Macy's spiral that is used to guide sessions and workshops as part of the work that reconnects. So we start with remembering what we are a part of, the many communities, human and more than human, that sustain and nurture us. Then we honor our grief and our pain for a world that is unraveling, for a world that is characterized by separation, by hierarchies. And we really hold space for that grief, knowing that we are held by each other and held by intelligences, human and more than human, that accompany us through this contemplation. Then we dream together into new possibilities. We identify the seeds of the great turning that exist within our communities and others, and we begin to connect those seeds, grow in a mycelium that can begin to nourish them and support their blossoming. And then we make an offering. It can be a commitment, it can be an experiment that we would like to initiate and learn from. And so the spiral really helps us move from a state of separation and apathy and despair to one of active hope, and to one of experimentation, because the truth is that we do not know what is needed to bring forth the great turning. We can only try different things and see how it feels. So I guess I'll stop here now and just invite us into one-on-one breakout rooms. We'll do a series of these. So the breakouts will be 5 minutes each. They will be one-on-one breakouts. And during these, I really would like to invite us to bring our full selves, body, mind, spirit, soul, and to not be afraid of silence. If silence arises, to welcome it, maybe eye gaze, or just breathe together. And to not be afraid of not knowing how to answer these questions. I struggle with them myself every day. So the first one being, who are you as a human? Here we're not really talking about the different professional hats that we're wearing, but really just as a human being on this earth during times of unraveling and also times of deep joy and awe. What do you currently do? So here you can mention, how you're involved in your own community or in the different networks and movements that you're a part of. And then the last question really is an invitation to sense into our deepest longing. It can be a personal one, it can be a collective one, it can be, an expression of the two, but to tap into that fertile soil from which our life force emanates. Our longings are an expression of the great turning. And so this is an invitation to really lean into those and share them if that feels right. Then we'll come back from these breakouts and I'll ask you the question, who is here? So you would have had the opportunity to meet a few other people present here. And when I'll ask you to share, a few of you, I would welcome us not to share any names because whatever we're sharing with each other is personal. And we want to honor that, but to just describe the beings that you met, to describe what touched you, what moved you, what inspired you. So here really the invitation is to practice deep listening while the other person is speaking, to not try and think about our answer, but to just be deeply present to honor the sacredness of the person in front of you. Thank you all. Myself, I met some beings who are learning how to become a channel for life, a vessel for what wants to emerge. Beings who are trying to become better listeners, some who are reinventing the ways we make decisions together, the ways we govern ourselves, and just really beings trying to navigate a world that seems like it's fallen apart, and all the emotions that arise from being human, the awe, the joy, the heart wrenching pain. And so there was so much resonance. Thank you all. So now that we have taken some time to connect with one another and to remember through these one on ones our inherent and inalienable belonging to each other. Now that we felt the resonance between all of us, we move to the second stage or the second checkpoint of the spiral, which is honoring what is unraveling. And so here, because this session is really about, schooling and education and learning, I'd like us to stay in this main room and to just feel into our experience as children, for those of us who went through a traditional schooling system, what felt broken, what felt inadequate about the ways we are educating children and adults, about the ways we are, in some sense, reproducing the very same worldviews, paradigms, ways of being and relating that have gotten us here in the first place. So this is really a space for us to just sense into what breaks our heart about the state of the world as a large, but especially the state of schooling systems around the world. And we honor that. We take the time to honor that and to honor the grief and the anger that comes from it. So we might compost it. So it might become nourishment for what comes next. So again, we will, take about 10 minutes for this here in the main room. You can share your answers through the chat, though you're very much welcome to unmute yourself and share that way. And we're also, invited to not comment on each other's, personal experiences, but just spot resonances, or if something moves us or touches us, to elevate that. So I'll just pop the question in the chat. What breaks our hearts about the state of the world and traditional education?
I'd like to share something here, Hajar.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Hina. I think what breaks my heart and on a regular basis is, and especially at the times when I was in school and also much later, even now when I'm learning something, I think one of the biggest things that is missing is acceptance. Because when I work with children or I interact with a child, regardless, I'll change the word, when I interact with a student, regardless of the age, I think if you let them be and you accept them as they are coming to you as is, I think they are capable of so much creativity, innovation, and I think their thoughts are like a playground of so much that's happening. Like, even now, honestly, like from my experience of day one and like the last 5 minutes that I'm here, I think my mind is exploding with, ultrasonic colors, because there is so much that I'm learning and I'm absorbing, and my heart is exploding with so much joy. I think this is how every student feels, because there is so much knowledge that's pouring in. They don't need to fit into a teacher's idea of how a student should be. So if there is an acceptance that flows from a teacher, that I'm accepting you and I'm inviting you to be present as is, I think the student will, for the lack of a better word, perform and also reciprocate very well. And I think that has worked a lot for me. And as it when I've interacted with students of any kind, I think acceptance is what I would say.
Sí.
Thank you so much for sharing, Nina. Lots of resonance here. Also was reminded of the etymology of the word education, educare, which is really to bring forth the wisdom that already exists within all of us. So the role of the teacher is one of a midwife to help birth wisdom that is hidden within each one of us. Thank you for sharing. Luz, I absolutely love what you wrote in the chat. Would you be willing to share?
Yeah, yeah, I don't know which one makes me more breaks my heart more. But I guess maybe starting with the self, no, the when we stop listening to our bodies and to our emotions and stop um, hearing what we really are and we would like to be. Then with the definition of success that normally doesn't fit into our communities, and then we have to become something else that we are not really. It's not really us, just to follow that path. Then one thing that really makes me angry is the fact that people lose the willingness or the passion for learning when it's super fun and it's something fantastic that allows us to open up and explore to all the different possibilities that there are. Then through that process of evaluation and all the things that experience in the traditional education, then that spark of curiosity keeps going down, and people lose their authenticity and their passion and purpose. So all those things is like, come on, how can this be? But yeah, at the end, I feel that there is this disconnection with the self, and then lack of purpose.
Beautiful. Thank you, Luz. Anyone else would like to share? We have some beautiful sharings in the chat as well. Maybe Charlie? Yes, Tanya.
Good morning from Ecuador. Thank you very much for the session. It's so beautiful. Well, I think that it was hurting so much in terms of just fulfilling. I was one of the best students at the school, but I was not feeling that I was having much fun. So I think that it is very important to have this combination of joyful learning and also the kind of interaction that we have now is one-to-one. How do we feel? It's not like just being the recipient of information and then going to the test and show that you memorize the information. I recently took part as facilitator in a program with Gaia University, Gaia Education, called BioSchools, and it's focused on regenerative projects. So people could use methodologies such as dragon dreaming, and then we could accompany them using the cultural, social, economic, environmental, and also the non-violent aspects of how we can make this kind of project. So I think that then we can go to the next level. So an invitation to think that we can do it differently.
Beautiful. Thank you, Danya. Yes, Charlie.
Can I just read what I put in the chat? Just to kind of voice to it. So I went to a conventional school in the UK, or conventional schools. My secondary school and college from ages 11 to 18 had 1,600 students, and I was just one of those. I was put through the machine like all the other kids in the education factory. I was divided from peers. It was hard to make friends and feel a sense of belonging. There was no sense of place or connection to where I was. It was all abstract. It was highly stressful. I developed kidney and bladder pains for holding my need to piss in constant fear. Cortisol surged through my system on a daily basis, peaking in the examinations seasons. Enjoying classes was often at the detriment of what the class was supposed to be about. Having friends was antagonistic to the system. Disconnection from life, love, and learning. Okay.
I felt this very, very strongly. Thank you, Charlie. Vanessa?
Yeah, I just wanted to add a voice to my word in the chat. So I grew up in different countries, which was amazing, and it was also not very nice to be having to change schools, mostly international schools. And then the best school ever was one in Portugal, and there were a lot of sports, and it was amazing. The sports were amazing, especially for me who was good at sports, because I used to win in sports, especially in the long distance running and cross country, this kind of thing, and also other sports, basketball, these kinds of things. And I was validated. I was given a place in the group through the sports, and so I received let's say a sense of self-esteem through the sports and also through winning. And it became a prison for me later in life, because you cannot always win, and in a system that where you or win or lose. Or I was presenting it to kids now, like, can we think of a game where you cannot win, that the reason of playing is not because you want to win, or because, and then ask kids about that. What do you think about that? Why shall we invent a game where you cannot win? Well, because there's always people that are sad. Yeah, well, there can only be one winner. So hanging on to that identity of having to win became really horrific for me, because life is not a competition, and I am unique anyway, like everyone else. And this is, as a woman also, this whole thing of competition is already embedded in the system, and how women often in this competing kind of sense. But the whole, to let go of that, letting go the need to win, and see things from a different view. And even after 30 years, I went back to a school reunion last summer, and even the teachers remembered me saying, "Oh, you're the one who won." So even 30 years later, they still remembered me because I'd won. And yeah, I think that needs to change somewhere, of the thing of winning. Why do we play? Or how are we validated?
Beautiful. Thank you, Vanessa. And the Great Weaving game is a win-win-win game. It was designed as such to benefit, not just the person who figures out the answer, but all the others who are present and the natural systems that we're a part of. So yeah, and in the chat, we also have another sharings of a non-competitive game. Thank you, Keegan, for this. Alexander?
Thank you. Yes, very rich. I also wanted just to pick up on this and make a few weaving connections here. The non-competitive games, exactly. I was fortunate to go to I went to a high school in New York City. It was the largest private international school in the world. And so it's, again, also tying in with what Charlie was saying, very, very much getting lost, being a number, being a grade, and also the competitive aspects. But I went to a college then, which was a Quaker school, and orientation was all non-competitive games that we learned, non-competitive, just to be part of the community. And it was quite a shift. Wow. And then the idea of if you're the winner, you're making everyone else losers, right? And so you have to live with these people. Why do you want to do that? Or if you're in community, right, you have to live with them. We have to ski to see them. So that's a different sense of empathy and of care. I long for much more of that. I'm just going to mention conformity, the opposite of being fully, that's a theme here that I'm seeing a lot of people expressing, and conveying that your worth is only that of a number or a grade. People say, "Oh, I'm whatever. I'm the A, or I'm the B, or I'm the C, or I'm a D," or that's your worth, and that's terrible. These systems. So I'm going to, if with your permission, just drop a poem into the chat. It's too long to read here, but it's called Conformity, and it relates so much to what Charlie shared. In terms of an experience that I just would like to share it here. So not necessarily for reading now, but just to share with you. There it is. Thank you.
Thank you for this offering, Alexander. You know how much I appreciate your poems and sharings. And I'm noticing, is it Hoda? Hoda?
Huda.
Huda, okay. You've moved us along to the next stage of the spiral, already dreaming into tomorrow's learning ecosystems. So we'll save that for later. Please make sure you copy paste it or keep an eye on that because it will come in handy. And before inviting us into a quick bio break, a few minutes to go grab a drink or just walk, stretch, do whatever feels right. I'd like to also share about my own experience going through, the schooling system as a child. It often felt like my full self was not welcomed. I have been a lover ever since I was a child. I loved everyone. I loved animals. I loved plants. And when I walked into schools, it was as though I had to leave all of this way of relating behind, and to relate from a place of, some of you mentioned, competition and sort of trying to get ahead of everyone else, which felt very counter nature. And there's also been just, this idea that my grandmother, because she did not know how to read or how to write, was somehow lesser than folks who had pursued a PhD, and yet she was, God bless her soul, the most wise person I have ever met. She gave me the most precious life lessons that I could ever learn. And so also this negation of other ways of knowing that are embodied, that result from life experience, and this putting on a pedestal of academic ways of navigating the world, understanding the world, and expressing ourselves, that felt like violence, not just to me, but to my kin, to my ancestors, who all brought so much wisdom, but not in the traditional sense. So thank you all so much for sharing so candidly and vulnerably. I'll invite us to step away for 2-3 minutes, maybe be back. I know we're all over the world, so the time zones are different, but let's just say in 3 minutes, coming back to this Zoom land. How does that sound? Good? Lovely. See you all soon. Around, it would be lovely to either turn on your camera or just, maybe raise your hand or use an emoji to express the fact that you are among us. Welcome back. And welcome to Marianne and Charlie from the Wandering School who have just joined us. Thank you. All right, it looks like most of us are here, or so I hope. So Marianne and Charlie, you've just joined us, so I'll give a very quick context into what's already taken place during the first hour.
No, we were here. We just had a power cut. We were in two
Oh, you
different
were already
computers.
here. Okay, okay,
We're back.
okay.
Combined
Lovely, thank
into the
you.
same space.
Is there anyone who's just joined us? Anyway, I'll just give a one-sentence synopsis of what you might have missed. We took some time to connect, to get to know the beings who are present here with us, to remember our belonging to each other. And then we moved into honoring our pain for the current state of the world and for everything that is fragmenting, everything that separates us, and also to feel into the pain that might have emerged as a result of going through the schooling system as children, and later on in our lives, and to honor that pain as an important step towards creating something different. And so the next kind of stop or checkpoint in our spiral is the one of dreaming. So this is really the core of the intention for today's session, dreaming into tomorrow's learning ecosystem and reworlding learning ecosystems as they currently are. And to do so, to avoid, responding from while being grounded solely in our rational mind, which is a tendency we all have as a result of our conditioning, I'd like to invite us into a little guided visualization, a quite short one, to visualize tomorrow's learning ecosystems together. And so if you're willing once more, I'll invite you to close your eyes or to soften your gaze and to just connect with your breath. Breath, which is your anchor. Even though it moves, it rises and it falls, it's always here with you, accompanying you, reminding you of your relationship with the trees, the air we're inhaling is the same that the trees exhale. And we nourish them as much as they nourish us. And you can begin to imagine yourself as one of your grandchildren or great-grandchildren. And the exact time here does not really matter. Just a few decades from now. And you feel the strength, the vitality of your youthful body, the curiosity to go around into the world and discover it all. You reconnect with that childlike awe and ability to wonder at the wonders of this world. Feel the happiness, the joy flowing through your body. Feel yourself connected to the community around you. Human and more than human. Past and present. Feel your connection to your ancestors, to your descendants, and your oneness with the earth and the cosmos. Now I'll invite you to look around you and notice how learning is happening everywhere around you. What do you see? What do you feel? Where is learning happening? Who is participating in the learning? What has disappeared in our learning systems, educational systems? And what has emerged in its place? What ways of being, relating, and knowing are welcomed and celebrated? How does learning flow within your community and with other communities around the earth? Checking in with the body, the sensations, the emotions that are present. Without trying to name them, we feel their scent, their textures, their shape and colors. And we crystallize this vision, trusting wholeheartedly that it will manifest without effort, that by just showing up day in, day out, and remembering this vision, it will one day come true. And whenever we're ready, we can begin to open our eyes and come back into this shared space together. And before I share a few prompts for us to begin visualizing together these learning ecosystems that our descendants will experience, I'd like to invite a few voices, written or voiced, to share about the experience you had, embodying your descendant, witnessing these learning ecosystems blossoming. How did it feel like? What did you see? Where was learning happening? Who was participating? Welcome, Danya. We've just gone through a little bit of a guided visualization into tomorrow's learning ecosystems. And now we're sharing little jewels from our journey. Yes, Hoda?
Well, maybe like what popped up, like the image mostly was a lot of nature, a lot of the learning and the exchange happening in nature. Not only kids alone, but with also like adults. And as if I saw, like in a way, encounters with like around also real life situations, not only just maybe sitting and resting under the tree, but kind of looking into having this.
I think we lost you, Hoda. Yeah, we lost you, dear one. I'm sorry, we didn't hear the end of what you were sharing.
Yeah, I noticed my connection. Sorry about that. So
No worries.
maybe it's more a lot of things happening in a way in nature and a lot of human interaction. That's what mainly came to me. In a sense, kind of meaningful, like yeah, experiential way. Life on and learning at the same time, and somehow.
Beautiful. So learning and unlearning across generations, across species. Beautiful vision. Who else would like to share?
Can I share?
Yes, please.
What came to my vision was our daughter. We have a 3-year-old called Gaia, and she is full of wonder and curiosity. And an image that came very strongly is when she's kind of like sitting in our garden, just like looking at a little beetle on a leaf, and just being like completely absorbed by it, and then trying to like put her finger out and let the beetle crawl up her finger, and then just being in that kind of that little moment where she's completely like enraptured by something so tiny and simple, but it just kind of explodes into something magical and wondrous, and kind of like there's kind of like everything there in that tiny little moment, just full of color and life and quietness and beauty.
I want want to add to that because we were obviously sitting next to each other doing this exercise, and then we opened our eyes and we looked at each other like, oh, Gaia came to mind like the whole time. And obviously she's so present in our lives. And for me, what came was this, like, lots of moments when she showed herself as such a wise person. She's 3 years old, and I feel like she teaches me so much. She says things that so profound, and she shows such a big understanding of things that are in the subtle level. It's really hard to explain. And so, yeah, just seeing myself as a mom and an adult that is learning from my own daughter, the child, and thinking how much we've been silencing and oppressing children across time, and how much we've been losing from not listening to them. And so, yeah.
Thank you both. I was right there with Gaia and the beetle, being both Gaia and the beetle. And for those who do not know, Gaia is a very, very special name. It is the name of the primordial goddess, who is also a personification and embodiment of Mother Earth. So as you both were describing, this vision, and then, Gaia teaching you, I was also seeing Mother Earth, Pachamamma, embodied as your daughter. So thank you so much for sharing. Beautiful sharings in the chat as well. Yes, ma belle.
A ver, yes. My dreaming is more than dreaming, a sensing, because everything is already here. It's not about the future or the past. Me, how was my educational experience? Everything is here. So I can sense, and I invite you guys, all of you, to sense. For this is the beginning to create. Sense what you want to express it in the world. And I sense that instead of educating or learning, that for me is totally obsolete, these concepts. It's because it is all about living, not about educating or learning or trying to guiding anyone into anything. Education and learning is, as it has been disconnected from real life, and that comes with all this burden. It's more about allowing, expressing, remembering, creating. Living is connecting with life, reflecting the life of consciousness in humans. That is it. It is life. With no structures, no institutions, no authorities, maybe with no systems even of any nature, but just sovereign beings, any age, connected to express, experience, maybe sharing their own magic and creation. That's it.
That was beautiful, my belle. Thank you. Much needed reminder that divorcing learning from living, from action, from embodiment, that might be part of the problem. Thank you for that. Does anyone else feel called to share what they experienced, what they saw? And if not, we'll move forward to the weaving of these learning ecosystems. And as I mentioned, this process, this practice of the great weaving is forever, evolving and transforming. It's very experimental. And so I wanted to quickly show you one way of doing this, which is not the way we will adopt today. I'm going to share my screen to show you a mural board of a previous virtual session of the Great Weaving Game that brought together about 40 weavers from around the world to weave together the more beautiful systems our hearts know are possible. So this includes not just learning, education, but also governance, health, really the full range of domains of communal living. And so we started by coming up with a vision statement after a guided visualization. What do these systems and economies look and feel like? So there was mutual flourishing, reciprocity, belonging, care. Then we felt into the shifts in mindsets, values, ways of being and relating that are needed to bring about these more beautiful systems. We reflected on the communities who are already embodying these shifts around the world, with some examples like the Global Tapestry of Alternatives, Transition Towns, Global Eco-Village Network, of course, Ecoversities, the various movements like localized economies, degrowth, gift economy, biomimicry that can help us birth these futures, the organizations and networks that we know of that support also paving the way for these more beautiful systems, the tools, resources, infrastructure that already exists that can also help us in our journey, and then the policies and the pathways and actions. So this is one way of doing it, but there are many, many others. In one of the last weavings in Auroville in South India, which is, yes, of course, I'll share the mural link. But Auroville is an intentional community. It is the city of dawn, as its founders have referred to it. And we held a session there of radical imagination. And what we came up with, our offerings were all arts-based. So they were songs, they were poems, they were murals. And it felt very, very special to also harvest our visions that way. And so here, what I'd like to propose to us today is to engage in a little bit of a creative exercise together. And so I'll share the link for that in the chat. And what we are going to do together is quite simple. And it is co-write a poem from the future which is written by our descendants. So Gaia, her children, her grandchildren, and all of our grandchildren are writing this poem to us from the future. And it begins with, "Dear ancestors, we write as the children of your courage. We speak from a time when learning has remembered how to breathe, how to be alive, how to reweave the world together." And then the first section is "in our time." And so here, really the goal, and you'll see in the second tab, we have a little bit of inspiration. But in our time, we may speak of how knowledge flows, how wisdom travels, where children gather, what elders offer in service of this collective learning, what the land, rivers, forests, and oceans teach us, how communities learn and unlearn together and from each other, what has disappeared, what has been restored. So we're really, describing what it is that we saw in that vision, and really rooting this not so much in problem solving, but in sensations, images, and emotions, really allowing them to breathe life into this vision. And so we'll start with this first section, and I'll invite us to add our lines, as many as feel right, where you can see these dots here. We'll take about 5 minutes, and then we'll shift to the next section, which is "It began when," and then "We thank you for," and then find a way to close this poem all together and maybe share it with the rest of the Ecoversities community and the folks who have attended the conference. Here we go. Dear ancestors, we write as the children of your courage. We speak from a time when learning has remembered how to breathe, how to be alive, how to reweave the world together. In our time, Gaia speaks and we listen. We learn with the land. We call for your wisdom. We ask for your stories. We know what it is like to live in a healthy planet. We hear your pain from the past. We are one. In our time in which diversity reigns, where weeds are valued, where love abounds, we don't know what weapons are anymore. Help us replace fear and violence. For hands to hold hands, cradle beetles and pat the earth. For love and peace in harmony with nature. We learn from whales, trees, and parrots. In our time, we live thankfully that you taught us, that you thought of us. We enjoy the beauty of earth. We breathe the air you left us because you thought ahead. And we strive to live by the beauty you left in our hearts. It began when we trusted in the weaving of life, when we took the masks off for fulfilling expectations, when we shared who we are to create long-lasting trust. It began when we faced our paradoxes. It began when we saw ourselves in others. It began when we opened our eyes for the first time and realized the gift of being alive. The systems of your time collapsed and the pluriverse became a word everybody knows and inhabits. It began when, with whole hearts, full hearts, clear hearts, open hearts, strong hearts, we learn to embrace what comes, not to brace against it. And miracles, magic, and mystery once more filled our lives. I'm so sorry, I just have to say I have goosebumps from my toes to my head. We thank you for holding space for a time filled with togetherness, for embracing our vulnerabilities and holding us with love, for supporting us in our decisions and to not fear, never losing hope and willingness to ask for help, letting ourselves be guided by the wisdom of our grandparents and their grandparents and the conversations they had with the more than human. We thank you for consuming less and thinking more, for making the best of what you had, for remembering what you have always been a part of, for tending to the torn threads of right relationship, for trusting in the goodness of the human heart, for gathering in circle to grieve, dream, and weave. We thank you for our loving family, for sustaining us in joy and in time of trouble, for walking the talk so we can mirror God and our spiritual calling, for inventing ice cream with such diverse flavors to suit every to suit every palate. I don't know how to pronounce that word. For laughter and for play. We love you. We remember you. We thank you for walking with us. We are the ones we have been waiting for, but we are not waiting anymore. Thank you all so much. Gosh, this is beautiful. Yeah, Sunday's Carnival. That would be great. So yeah, I will spend some time making it all ready to be shared and to be enjoyed more and more before emailing you the final result. So for the closing of today, I have just really 2 sentences for us to feel into together. The first one being, how do you feel right now in your body? And the second one being, where will this dream take you? And here you can feel into your offering. And it doesn't need to be a plan, a strategy, just can be just an intention. It can be an experiment that you want to try out. Anything you would like to gift back to the weave.